I am so happy to be back with another interactive Bible study for my second time in the week. I'm pretty proud of myself for sticking with it. Um, I just wanted to leave a quick disclaimer. When I say Bible study, please know that I am not a Bible scholar. I am not super knowledgeable in the Bible. I am just someone humbly still making my way through the Bible myself and trying to understand it and praying for understanding. And this is just kind of me making my way through the Bible and sharing little gems that I pick up along the way that I wanted to share with you guys. So these may not exactly be like super in depth um, revelations of the Bible. But then again, it could be because I try to pray. I do pray before these videos and I ask the Lord to impart hidden wisdoms and hidden mysteries and knowledge and understanding. And I kind of feel like He would do that because of the fact that I'm not some super profound, knowledgeable Bible scholar. I'm just nobody trying to understand God's Word. So I just wanted to make a disclaimer there that these probably aren't going to be any super um, in depth studies with crazy revelations. But like I said, maybe the Lord would show us some things that some of us maybe never noticed before, because I feel like we are living in a time right now where God is really revealing certain hidden mysteries. So, okay, we are going to be in First Kings chapters 4, 5, and 6. Just to cover and touch on really quick what we went over previously, Adonijah, one of David's sons, underhandedly anointed and proclaimed himself to be king, but the position was given to Solomon with David's blessing. And this reminded me of how Lucifer said he was going to make his seat higher than the stars of God, and he was going to take his place on the Mount of the Assembly. So that really was kind of like an antichrist symbology to me. It really made me think of Lucifer, but that position was given to King Solomon, and King Solomon is a type and shadow of Jesus. And then we also talked about the benefits and blessings of walking in obedience to God. God visited Solomon in a dream and blessed him with godly wisdom, riches, and honor in the dream. And then Solomon's wisdom was displayed in these chapters where he brought to light the true mother of the child that these two harlots were fighting over. Okay, so this I wanted to show you guys is my office. This is where I'm sitting at right now. This is where I'm going to be doing these videos from. It's my little sanctuary in our house where I can just escape the noise and the chaos of the dogs and the husband on the TV or whatever else may be going on. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. And like I said in the last video, grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, a snack, what have you, and join along with this video. This is a pumpkin spice latte that I made a few days ago. Ever since COVID, I've really been learning to be my own barista, and I've really enjoyed making our own coffees. I don't think I'll ever really go back to like this drink right here you see in at other coffee shops would probably be like $5 or $6. So I've really been enjoying making my own coffee. So get your coffee ready. If it's not too late for coffee, get some hot tea, some lemon water, whatever you like. Okay, so these are my little gems that I picked out of chapters 4, 5, and 6. So King Solomon had peace on every side, and everyone dwelt in safety. There was no lack in supplies. God gave him wisdom and exceedingly great understanding, like the sands of the seashore. Can you imagine that? I feel like so many things go over my head, and I'm constantly like wondering about things and thinking, and sometimes people will say, you're just constantly staring off into space. I'm a thinker. So I can't imagine just being King Solomon and having that God-given wisdom where you have all this knowledge and understanding of things. So much so that it was like the sands of the sea, which is innumerable. I can't even imagine how great of understanding King Solomon had. So there were no adversaries or evil occurrences. There was wealth, wisdom, great prosperity, and it was something of a golden age in Israel during the beginning of King Solomon's reign. He was the wisest of all men. He is to this day the wisest man that ever lived, besides Jesus himself, because his wisdom was God given. It wasn't anything of himself. And people came from all over to hear his wisdom, including the Queen of Sheba. He had a God given understanding of life and human problems. And this is where it brings us to the interactive part of this Bible study. So I asked here, had you lived during King Solomon's era, do you think you would have traveled to hear his wisdom, considering all his knowledge of the problems of life? And if so, what would you ask him? And the Bible tells us that there was no question that anybody ever asked Solomon that he couldn't answer. He knew everything. So considering that, what would you ask King Solomon if he was in front of you right now? And I wanted to include my own answer for this, but to be honest, I feel like this would take a whole day for me to think on. So I really don't know yet. I haven't really had time to sit and think about it. But I would say maybe list like your top 3 things. List 3 things, no more than 3, down below in the comments of questions that you would ask King Solomon. And it could be about anything, because it says here that he had the understanding of all of life's problems and human issues. And like I said, I'm always wondering, why this about life? Or I wonder how, outer space works and things like that. So I feel like there's 100 things that I could ask. But of course, now that I am kind of putting myself on the spot, I can't really think of anything. So maybe when I upload this video, I'll pin in the comments down below my answer, or I'll just try to quickly come up with a question that I would ask him. Okay, so King Solomon was a wise leader, and a wise leader doesn't do it all by themselves. They train others and they give responsibility and different jobs to different people to help get the job done. So in these chapters, it's talking about the administration that King Solomon formed to help run things smoothly. This is rooted in wisdom because God himself is a God of order and organization. And I wrote here, have you ever been at like a fast food drive-through and the organizational skills and communication and the flow is just all off? Your order is wrong. Nobody seems to know what they're doing. Maybe you come out with somebody else's food and maybe you don't realize it till you get home. Maybe you do realize it and then you have to turn around and get back at the end of the line because just the administration and the trainings aren't there. And whenever this happens, when my husband and I go through a drive-through, we'll kind of like pull away and my husband's kind of like, wow, seriously? And then I kind of have to tell him and remind him that, at least for me, I don't usually ever blame the worker that hands me my bag. Me being someone who, one of my first jobs was in fast food, and I can tell you that job did not last long, I always put the blame on the managers because, like I said, from my own experience, they didn't train me. They just kind of threw me out there and expected me to know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. Everything was new to me. I just was not properly trained at all. And King Solomon, in all his wisdom, knew that in order to have things running smoothly, a successful kingdom, you have to impart jobs to different people to take care of certain positions. And he wasn't prideful. He wasn't like a micromanager trying to do everything himself. He was a wise king. So these chapters are talking all about the different positions that he appointed, all the different jobs everybody had. There was even someone that was a recorder. They recorded everything that was going on. King Solomon spoke 3,000 proverbs and 1,005 songs, and he also had some sayings regarding animals and trees, and many of these are in the book of Proverbs. And I just kind of thought it was interesting that he really did seem to have an interest in the things of nature, and animals and trees. And I want to say that I think one of the other buildings that he had built had something to do with nature or trees or something. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is that I'm thinking about. And I could be wrong, but I want to say there was like a hall of cedars or something like that. Again, don't quote me. But he really did seem to have an interest in God's creation and nature and quote unquote science. So I just thought that was really interesting. Some of the supplies that were used to build the temple included cedar and cypress logs, and this is what brings me to where in the last video I shared with you guys. So I have an essential oils business on the side, and with the knowledge that I have about essential oils and what certain oils are used for health-wise, I made a connection because cypress oil, or not cypress oil, cypress wood is thought by some people, not everybody, to be what the Bible calls gopher wood, which Noah used to build the ark. So, if you disagree, if that's not fact, you don't have to make it a debate. It's just that some people believe that cypress wood is modern day gopher wood, because I remember like one of the first times that I read the Bible, I'm like, what the heck is gopher wood? I'd never heard of that used before. So some people do think that it's cypress. So if that's true, cypress is called the blood oil in the essential oils community because it's good for the circulation of blood, for bruises, and any issue of blood. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, Holly, I just keep getting these mysterious bruises, or I'm not getting good circulation in my legs, what oil do I need? And I will tell them cypress because it's known as the blood oil. So again, if that's true, the ark was built with an oil that symbolizes the blood of Jesus. It's the blood oil or blood wood. And I just kind of made that connection. I was like, okay, so the temple was used, for a fact, it says in the Bible that it was used, that cypress was used to build the temple. So that, to me, personally, kind of says it probably was likely that the ark also used cypress as well. Because these are just all kind of types and shadows. And then where it says that the temple also used cedar wood, I know that cedar essential oil is used for anxiety, to help you just kind of chillax a little bit. It's good for insect and moth repellent, so that kind of makes sense. So I feel like, you could just be reading along and like, okay, the temple used cedar and cypress logs, who cares? So what? That's random. But I'm the type of person that understands that everything means something in the Bible and there's a reason for everything. So just with the knowledge that I have with essential oils and what their uses are, I could see I made that connection, and I thought that was pretty cool and wanted to share that with you guys. So the stone that was used to build the temple was finished at the rock quarry itself. They didn't bring any of it to the temple to work on, and they did that so as not to have the sound of pounding tools heard in the temple. Just kind of interested to hear your guys' thoughts on why that is. I don't know if there was like prayer or anything, I don't know, that was going on, that they wouldn't want that distraction of annoying construction going on, or is this just referring to the fact that, if you're at a rock quarry or a stone quarry, obviously, these are going to be heavy materials, so that's why they didn't bring them? I don't know. But it said that the reason that they finished the stonework at the quarry itself was for the sake of they didn't want to have the sound, the the noise of working on the stone in the temple. I don't know. Maybe that one's just going over my head, but let me know your guys' thoughts on that. Okay, so here's another example of something that I was covering in the last video. So God says in these chapters to Solomon, if you walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all of my commandments and walk in them, then I will perform my word with you and not forsake my people Israel. This is another example of God saying, if you do this, then I will do this. There are conditions on God's promises, and the Bible is full of those instances. So there's a lot of times, not just in this book, but all throughout the Bible, where God says, if you do this, then I will do that. We can't just walk blindly doing our own thing and expect God to bless us and protect us and hide us under his wing. Okay, so some of the other indoor attributes of the temple, it was covered with ornamental buds, open flowers, and it was all cedar on the inside. The entire interior was all cedar. There was no stone to be seen on the inside. So all of that stone that we just talked about was only going to be on the outside. It was nowhere inside. So to me, knowing what cedar smells like, it probably smelled really, really good in that temple. Another interesting thing to me was the fact that Solomon did make 2 cherubims for the Ark of the Covenant. And the reason it was interesting to me was because that is a carved image. And here's the point that I wanted to make. A lot of Christians today tend to be a little bit paranoid about these type of things and a little bit legalistic. And there are Christians who would be the type of Christian who would walk in your house and see like an angel decoration or something. Just for the example, I'll use something that I have in my home. I have a neighbor who she gave me a gift once, a very special gift, and it's one of those, I think they're called willow tree figurines, and it kind of, it has wings and it's supposed to be an angel. And I have it up on a shelf somewhere. And there are these Christians who would walk in your house and say, oh, Holly, you have an idol on your shelf. And they will quote Leviticus 26, chapter 26, verse 1, that says, you shall make no idols nor graven image, neither rear up any standing image, neither shall you set up any image of stone in your land to bow down to it. So a lot of Christians like to cling to this part of a verse, but leave this part of the verse out. And the reason that this scripture is written is for the sake of not worshiping these images. And I wrote here that it's about people's hearts and people's intentions. God knows my heart, and he knows that obviously I'm not going to be worshiping a willow tree angel decoration up on a dusty shelf somewhere. The Lord knows that this person was doing an act of service and love towards me by giving me this special gift. And I don't think Jesus would expect me to just, put the palm of my hand up in their face and say, stop. No, I'm not going to accept that, because, you know what I mean? People tend to forget that it's all about our heart. But if somebody has an issue with worshiping and bowing down to these things, then, that's for them. We are not to bow down to these graven images or worship them or think anything special of them. So I just wanted to note that even King Solomon, the wisest person to ever live, himself made two angels. But obviously he wasn't worshiping or bowing down to them. They had a purpose. The construction of the temple took 7 years, and I think it took like 13 years, I want to say, to build King Solomon's own personal palace. So it was taking a lot of years for all of this work to get done because there's a lot of intricacies and ornamental details to everything. So I thought that was interesting how much time it was taken to build these things. Okay, so here is how we kind of get a little bit into, we get a little taste of how King Solomon starts to get a little bit disobedient to God's ways. So King Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, which goes against what God says in Deuteronomy towards future kings of Israel about not multiplying horses for himself. And I wrote here that I imagine the modern day equivalent of this to kind of like TV preachers who have 10 Mercedes and Ferraris and all kind of mansions and personal jets and all this unnecessary stuff. So yeah, he obviously, King Solomon was, I don't know if he was getting prideful or if his head was getting too big, or I don't know what was going on with him, but he did go against what it says in Deuteronomy to not be multiplying horses for yourself. And he had 40,000 stalls of them. And here in a maybe the next video or the one after that, we're going to talk about the King Solomon's connection to 666. And that really stood out to me. Okay, so many of King Solomon's blessings were more so because of his father David's obedience to the Lord, and not so much because of Solomon's obedience. David was very loyal and intimate with God, even more than Solomon was. So God basically blessed his son Solomon because of, for David's sake. And I wrote here that this is something to be said for future blessings of our own children when we too are also loyal and intimate and close and obedient to the Lord. And I speak this in terms of if the Lord tarries and we're still here to have future children or grandchildren. My husband and I have not yet started our family. We actually plan to do so this year. And then coronavirus happened, and then everything kind of started to snowball and get out of control. So, Lord willing, he tarries. Again, there is something to be said here for the future blessings of our own children when we are obedient to the Lord. Solomon is a type and shadow of Jesus, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom, knowledge, and hidden knowledge and understanding as well. And whenever I pray, I always try to remember to ask the Lord to impart to me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and to reveal to me hidden wisdoms and hidden knowledge, because I want that. So I always try to remember to ask him to give me those things, because I am not the type of person to come to these things on my own. I do think that since coming to the Lord, he's taught me to be more wise. But as far as like knowledge and understanding of things, that is not my place. That for me is going to have to come straight from God himself. So I do desire to have those things. So I try to remember to always include that in my prayer. But now we don't have to go to King Solomon. He is a type and shadow of Jesus, but now we have Jesus, and we can go to him for all the problems of life and all of our struggles. Seek him for infinite wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And there are no far off travels needed. We don't have to travel any further than our closet or our bedroom or in our car or where we're sitting at right now to ask Jesus to anything that we want to ask him, anything we want to ask him about or ask him for. Okay, so that's it for this one. Next up, we're going to be doing chapters 7, 8, and 9 in the next video. And this covers when Solomon builds his other structures. He gets married to Pharaoh's daughter. And we're also going to cover God's second appearance to Solomon. So his first appearance to King Solomon was in a dream. I'm still not quite over that, because of the fact that God asked Solomon a question in the dream, and Solomon answered him, and God blessed him in the dream. That's just so cool to me, because of the fact that a lot of people think, even Christians kind of seem to write dreams off completely. And God is the one who created the dream. And if you really think about that, I think about this all the time. When I wake up from a pretty amazing dream, I'm like, whoa, like what the heck even is a dream? How did you do that, God? It's just something that's like super supernatural. When I'm in heaven, I want to see the process that God uses to give people dreams and how he inserts himself into that dream. I don't know why this doesn't appeal to more people, but I think dreams are just one of the coolest things that God created, because they're just so interesting. I don't know. But God does speak through dreams, even still today, and a lot of Christians don't believe that. I don't understand that. And then eventually we are going to be seeing, unfortunately, the decline of King Solomon's wisdom and obedience to the Lord. So I guess he was only wise for so long. None of us are perfect on this earth. And again, just to recap the interactive part of this Bible study, post down below 1, 2, 3 questions that you would ask King Solomon in all of his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And I look forward to reading your guys' answers. I'm going to have to try to think of my own question while I'm uploading this video, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm really enjoying this. I'm, again, really excited and proud of myself that I was able to do this twice in 1 week. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.